So, hello everyone. As the professor said, my name is Guilherme Borges. I am from University of São Paulo, Brazil. And the paper that I submitted to this conference and that I will present today is part of a bigger research that actually is in progress. So any reviews, suggestions, feedback that you may have will be more than welcome, okay? So today I will talk about the Universal Church of the Kingdom of God, the one that Ricardo Mariano, a Brazilian sociologist, describes as the most amazing and successful religious phenomenon in the country. In 1977, in the northern section of Rio de Janeiro, to those that don't know, the city is a very poor area over there. In a former funerary building, the Universal Church was founded. Nowadays, Universal Church boasts 320 bishops and 14,000 pastors distributed in more than 100 nations among 10,000 temples. Here in New York City, they have 14 temples. And the main responsible for the construction of this kingdom is Bishop Edir Macedo. Bishop Macedo decided to open his own church, aiming to attract individuals from lower income classes. To approach that people, Macedo soon realized the fundamental importance of electronic preaching. Starting with a 10 minutes radio program, Macedo gradually assumed the position of media mogul. Among the many properties he has accumulated, there is Rede Record, a television network that has become the second largest broadcaster in the country. His communications companies also include another television channel, Record News, as well as Folha Universal, a weekly print newspaper with a circulation of over 2.5 million copies. Because of this and so many other properties, Forbes magazine placed Macedo as the richest religious leader in Brazil. Macedo was also profiled in Forbes' most prestigious list, the select group of billionaires around the globe. Macedo's economic growing, supported by his media, is inseparable from the theological content that these media reproduce. According to the teachings of the Universal Church, Christians and only Christians would be qualified by right to a materially prosperous life. In line with the North American prosperity gospel, Macedo postulates that Jesus was never poor. Being the King of Kings, Jesus was rich. After the vicarious sacrifice of the cross, believers would be able to enjoy that infinite material richness. To realize that potentiality, however, the individual would have to demand, with firm confidence, the opulence foreseen in the Bible. Here I have one citation from Macedo that's very important to quote, I think. If you want to live the true life God has prepared, start today, right now, claiming all that he has promised. And Bishop Macedo goes on. A promise is an obligation. What God promised in the Bible, he owes you all that. But then a big question arises. How does the Universal Church explain the fact that a huge portion of its followers cannot ascend economically, no matter how often they attend the daily service offered by the institution? The answer: the follower who does not grow is the same one that does not deserve to be considered faithful. Since God does not fail in his promise, it is to be concluded that the individual, a simple sinner, is the one who would be wavering in the confidence, presenting doubts regarding the granting of material blessings. Biblical rights must be demanded with the firm confidence that such prerogatives will be granted. So there is a circular reasoning, right? Every faithful, without exception, achieves a prosperous life. Those who do not achieve are not truly faithful. It's just like the fallacious argument Anthony Flew calls "Know the True Scotsman." Anthony Flew gives a little illustration to show his argument, to show how a fallacious argument works. I will use the same illustration here. So he says, Douglas, a character, declares that Scotsmen do not put sugar in milk. Adam, another character, points out that he is a Scotsman, and yes, he puts sugar in milk. Angry, Douglas screams that no true Scotsman puts sugar in milk. Without loss of meaning, the story could be adjusted to the universal church routine. Macedo declares that the faithful are not in misery. John points out that he is faithful, and yes, he is in misery. Angry, Macedo screams that no true faithful is in misery. To universal church theology, doubts are caused by the devil. But this devil is not that one of the Jewish Christian religions. The demons that would provoke the crisis of confidence in the biblical promise, thus causing all the other ills, would be the very same gods revered in Umbanda and Candomblé, two Afro-Brazilian religions. The Universal Church points to the relapsed confidence as the result of tricks led by satanic forces, and locates the source of these forces in African-born gods. So, the gods of these religions are seen as true, with objective existence, which is exactly why they should be persecuted. There is a reverse syncretism. Although the gods of other religions are recognized as authentic, they are not therefore worshipped, but repudiated. And this cannibalism of opposing beliefs proves to be quite lucrative. Macedo claims that money is the blood of the church. Continuing the metaphor, it's reasonable to say that the heart that circulates this blood is none other than the fear of evil influence. Offers are paid to get rid of the action of an Exu Tranca-Rua, for example, an Afro-Brazilian deity that, in Universal's doctrine, is assimilated to the demon that prevents the faithful from finding a job. This theological construction is based on the idea that God is quite capable of rebuking demons, but only uses his power in favor of those who contribute financially to the church. For the material prosperity to be realized, it's essential to contribute to the financial resources of the universal church, and those are not ordinary contributions. It's necessary, and here I am quoting Bishop Macedo one more time, it's necessary to give what cannot be given. Money that's in saving for a future dream. That money is important. Because little money, which has no value to the faithful, has much less value to God. The ideal Christian is the one who offers over-budget amounts that compromise the bank balance. Values can be offered in cash and credit card, but also in the form of cars, apartments, and even wedding rings. The Brazilian sociologist Reginaldo Prandi, observing such large demands, classifies that system of endless offerings as a real exploitation. In fact, it does not seem an exaggerated qualification, especially when one takes into account that while the Universal Church bishops accumulate fortunes, most of the followers continue to belong to low-income classes, or even worse, they sink in poverty. In in the scenario being analyzed, there is a directly proportional relationship between ethno-religious violence and economic improvement when it comes to the church leaders. On the other side, this ratio becomes inversely proportional in the case of the church followers. These believers engage themselves in a holy war against Afro-Brazilian religions, and they do that with the expectation of receiving a never-ending richness. Data show, however, that instead of being never-ending, their richness never materializes. Knowing that the developing of the universal church is sustained by offerings, and considering that these gifts rest on hatred against the deities of Afro-Brazilian religions, it is inevitable to recognize that the church's vigor is rooted in ethnic persecution to minority creeds. For a church in which money is a sacred tool, belligerence is adopted as the norm, since this combative morality provides the proper economic fruits. The occurrences of physical aggression against devotees of Afro-Brazilian religions, the radio and TV programs that, time after time, accuse those same devotees of perpetrating blood rituals, the destruction of sacred places of these religions. Such acts only reflect and materialize a violent as well as profitable theology. There is an economic logic that makes the universal church unbeatable in violent behavior against its enemies. Contrary to popular belief, Brazil is a country full of religious conflicts. The ideal image of a harmonic tropical nation hides a relentless combat against African-born religions. With the present analysis, I try to show that those ethno-based persecutions are closely related to the major economic crisis prevalent in Latin America. The Universal Church case shows that there is a direct link between ethno-religious conflicts and economic pauperization. So that's it.